Been a while. Been a while since had a nice brisk walk through the neighborhood. Yeah, I was on vacation for a little bit, and then coming back home, I just getting my life back together, work, and uh, getting my sleep schedule back. Yeah, doing a video jet lag. That didn't sound like a good time to me. You know what I want to do? I want to talk about comics again because I love comics. They're one of my favorite hobbies. And everybody this week had been talking about the Batman wedding. They've hyped this for months, half the year. They've been like, Batman and Catwoman are getting married. And it's a bait and switch. They revealed the bait and switch. They didn't get married. Catwoman left him at the altar for the stupidest of reasons. Batman can't be happy, otherwise he's not Batman. Which is BS. It's weak sauce. It's the weakest of answers. I would like it more if Catwoman left because, she got really scared. She got super scared of being tied down because she's such a free spirit. She got a glimpse of her future and she didn't like what she saw. That would have been a much better reason to leave. Batman can't be happy is such a freaking... Anyways, DC has been disappointing me. So I'm going to talk to you about the Man of Steel comic. I didn't want to talk about it until the entire series is done. 6-issue run, done. So they gave the reins to Superman over to Bendis and said, you get to create a new, origin story. What he did, I didn't like. The gist is, this guy, Rogue Hall, comes down to Earth and starts destroying the Fortress of Solitude, beating up on Superman and Supergirl, and says he destroyed Krypton. That's right. He destroyed Krypton. I guess it would be better if this villain looked, if he was striking, if he was cool looking. But he is the most generic looking villain ever. I mean, I'll put a picture of him over here. The color scheme is nothing to write home about. He's got the big, thick tree trunk legs that every big, tough guy has. I mean, he's not exciting. This is a comic book. Be comic booky. Show me what you got. And if this is the best you got, I can't get on board. But let's talk about the fact that he destroyed Krypton. So, if you're not familiar with Superman and his backstory, why did you click on this video? I don't know. Superman came from an exploded world called Krypton. And the reason it exploded was because of science, or the lack of listening to scientists. You see, Krypton's core was going to implode for certain reasons. It changes from story to story. Sometimes it's the sun that's going to explode, sometimes it's the planet. Jor-El figured out, hey, everything's going to explode. We should do something about this. And everybody in power didn't want to listen to him. Either they were harvesting energy from the sun or from the Krypton's core, and they couldn't give up the money and power, or they didn't want to cause panic, and they wanted to make sure that they could secure their seat for another term, or however Krypton politics works. Such a story seems super relevant today, doesn't it? There are science deniers trying to keep this secret and coax the people into a lull when the scientists are ringing the warning bells. Hey, we're all gonna die. But no, in a time when that story is one of the most relevant stories, we're gonna say, oh, it's a single person that did it, and you can punch him. So go punch him, Superman. The best stories of Superman are not when he's punching people. So that's the main criticism, and a lot of other people said this too. Another plot thread, and this shows up in issue 2 or 3, Jor-El comes back. Now, Jor-El is Superman's dad, and he should have died with Krypton, but in an earlier story by Dan Jurgens, Jor-El was saved at the last moment by an unknown entity here to just mess with Superman. So this unknown entity pulled Jor-El out of the time stream as soon as the planet exploded, during the planet's explosion, and then sent him to Earth to go mess with Superman, brainwashed him a little. It really worked, and the story is wonderful. So there's another question, is this really Jor-El? And Superman tried to verify this by going back in time, but Booster Gold stopped him. These were all great stories. But now we get to Bendis, and he brings Jor-El back, and he comes for Superman's son. Superman and Lois have a son now. Jonathan, he is adorbs. He is so freaking great. I love this character. Jonathan's in love with Jor-El. He loves his grandfather, even though he's evil, or could be. We don't know. Like, the mind control is gone, but we don't know who this guy really is. So Superman's like, I don't let my son near this guy. I don't know who he is. Says, hey, I'm going to take your son, and we're going to explore the universe, and I'm going to teach him stuff you can't, because you sit here on Earth and don't teach our son what it means to be Kryptonian and a citizen of the universe, and yada yada. I scoff at this. Scoff! Oh my goodness. Superman goes to different planets all the time. In a couple of stories, he took Jonathan to other planets to do other worldly stuff. But no. Superman, my son Kal-El, he can't do anything right. So I'm going to take his son. It's stupid. On its face, it's stupid. And they string this out, this one scene they string out for the rest of the series. Like, we don't know what's going to happen at the end. Like, we don't know. Like, the first issue, they say Lois is gone and no one knows where Lois is. And they string this out, all 6 issues. As soon as Jor-El shows up, of course we know Lois and John went with freaking Jor-El. Duh. One of the more interesting things, and this is a little bit of writing I did like, the explanation of why Superman is wearing the tights again with the trademark underwear on the outside. He gave his new suit to Lois to protect her while she's in space, because it has Kryptonian technology in it that should help her out. Or is it just Kryptonian? It could be all sorts of technology. I don't know. Superman knows a lot of people now. This leads us to, I guess, the final concern of the entire thing. This is the ending of Man of Steel. How they get rid of Rokal is Supergirl just takes the Phantom Zone projector, zaps him into the Phantom Zone. Bloop. No questions answered, no revelations. The entire comic series is just this huge smackdown with 2 subplots. The Jor-El is back and takes Jonathan away, and the fires. There are fires that are happening all over Metropolis. And in the last panel, it says, Superman's been causing, I'm an eyewitness, and Superman's been causing the fires. So it ends on a cliffhanger. So it's not a mini-series. It doesn't conclude. There's nothing like... So Michael Bendis is going to continue his run on the Superman self-titled comic. Why not make the series longer? Finish the series! If you were to go into a comic shop and pick up the graphic novel for Man of Steel, all of the comics combined into one big volume, and you're like, good, a completed Superman story, and you read that, you'd be mad. You'd be super mad. I don't know what DC is doing or thinking, or one good thing about this Man of Steel miniseries. The comic book market is shrinking. It's been doing that for a long time. And they notice, one of the big reasons for this is, well, I want to read an X-Men comic. I pick it up and it's issue 98. Well, do I start here? What? I can't read this. This is like the middle of the story. How do I get into a comic book when I'm in the middle of a story? So what publishers been doing is constantly remaking a #1 of a series. Oh, this is X-Men #1 again. And they do it over and over and over. This has gotten kind of hard to follow a book. It really has. Because they'll go to like issue 70 and then start over. Because the readership has dropped off. Because no one wants to read a comic from issue 70. Miniseries solve this problem. And I think almost all comics should be miniseries. If you read comics nowadays, they usually have little sub-stories, like 4-issue runs of a writer or something like that, where they tell one concise story. Drop people's main titles. That's my solution. Drop them. Don't have Batman be an ongoing series. Instead, make Batman and the Joker's Tide issues 4-part miniseries. Spider-Man and the Return of the Villainous Sinister Six, 6-part miniseries. That way, everybody knows what the comic is, where to start, where to finish. And when one miniseries ends, just make the new miniseries and give it the full title. It's easy, it's genius. And then everybody gets a number one. Everybody gets a number, and everybody knows where to start. I have blathered on quite enough. We're making a long video today. Thanks for watching, and I will see you later. Goodbye.